Hi everybody! As promised, I'm back with my Shreeparna's Easy Learning series for kids. No. This time I haven't come with English grammar, but with a new subject. And that is science. And this time we are going to be learning about the parts of a flower and pollination. For better understanding, I have decided to dissect an hibiscus flower and separate its parts before you. This will easily make you understand about the parts of a flower. All my viewers are requested to give me a like, subscribe and share my channel. Also, please tap the bell icon to get regular notifications about my future uploads. You are also requested to give your valuable feedback in the email mentioned in the description box. So let's start our topic. Flowers contain the plant's reproductive structures. A typical flower has 4 main parts or whorls. My dear friends, don't mix it up with rows. I am saying whorls, W-H-O-R-L-S, whorls. It means spiral or concentric circles or arrangement. So, as I am saying, there are 4 parts known as the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. This part is known as the calyx. This is the corolla, as I am circling all those petals. This is the androecium. This stalk and this lobed structure is the androecium, and this green colored part is the gynoecium. The outermost roll of a flower has the green leafy structures known as the sepals. The sepals are collectively called the calyx. You can see it. It helps to protect the flower before it blooms. You can also take a look at the board. The second whorl is comprised of petals, usually brightly colored. You can see. The petals are collectively called the corolla. You can also take a look at the board. The number of sepals and petals varies depending whether the plant is monocot or dicot. Together, the calyx and the corolla are known as the perianth. The third whorl contains the main reproductive parts of a flower and is known as the androecium. The androecium contains the stamens. These are the androecium. These little tubes and those light yellow colored parts are the androecium or the stamens. The stamen has 2 parts. Those are the filament and the anther. The filament is a thin stalk and the anther is a lobed structure and contains the pollen grains. The innermost group of structures in a flower is the gynoecium. The gynoecium contains the carpels. There may be one or multiple carpels. The gynoecium is made up of 3 parts. The sticky top, stigma, this extended stalk known as the style, and this is the ovary. You can also take a look at the board. This is the stigma. This stalk is the style and this swollen part at the bottom is the ovary. The ovary contains the ovules. These yellow or orange colored seeds or whatever you can see is the ovules, and this green colored part is known as the ovary wall. Now let's have a look and revise all the 4 parts of a flower in detail. Let's take an example of an hibiscus flower. A flower has 4 parts: the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Let's take an close look to all the parts. Calyx. The outermost green color part is known as the calyx or sepals. The corolla. The corolla is known as the petals. It is usually brightly colored and helps insects for pollination. The androecium. The androecium is known as the male reproductive part. It is made up of stamens. The stamen is made up of the anther, which is a lobe structure which contains pollen sacs and pollen grains, and the filament is a thin stalk. Now the female reproductive part of the flower, which is the gynoecium, it is made up of the sticky top stigma, the extended stalk called the style, and the swollen part at the bottom known as the ovary. The ovary contains the ovules, and you can also see the ovary wall. If all 4 whorls of a flower are present in a flower, then it is termed as a complete or a bisexual flower. And if any of the parts, which are the androecium or gynoecium, only these two, androecium or gynoecium, are not present in a flower, then that flower is known as an monosexual or an incomplete flower. Monosexual flower having only androecium rather than the gynoecium is known as an staminate flower. And a flower which is having, means an monosexual flower which is having gynoecium rather than the androecium, is known as an carpellate flower. If both male and female flowers are bloomed on the same plant and of the same species, is called a monoecious or one-homed flowers. The examples are corn, pea, etc. Flowers with male and female flowers borne on separate plants are termed as dioecious or two-homed flowers. Examples are papaya, dates, cannabis, etc. but of the same species. Now, let us know about pollination. The word pollination comes from the word pollen grains. Pollination occurs when the pollen grains from the male reproductive part, which is the anther, goes, means or is transferred to the female reproductive part of a flower, which is the stigma. Now you may ask, how these pollen grains are transmitted to the stigma? The answer is, there are several ways to transfer pollen grains to the stigma. It may be by wind, water, insects, or maybe with some animals and birds. And those who help in carrying pollen grains from the anther to the stigma are known as the agents of pollination. Some examples are earthworms, caterpillars, butterflies, etc. Once the stigma receives the pollen grain, it transports it to the ovary through the thin stalk called the style. And when the ovary, means the ovules in the ovary meets with the pollen grains, fruits and seeds are formed. Now we are going to be learning about types of pollination. There are 2 types of pollination, self-pollination and cross-pollination. When pollination occurs within the same flower or another flower of the same plant, it is known as self-pollination. Now further, self-pollination can be divided into 2 parts. When pollination occurs within the same flower, it is known as autogamy, and when pollination occurs within the 2 flowers but of the same plant, it is known as geitonogamy. Now pollination, when occurs between 2 flowers but of the different plants and of the same species, it's known as cross-pollination. This is all about pollination. Hope you have enjoyed my presentation, and thank you for watching. Please give me a like, subscribe and share my channel, and please tap the bell icon to get regular notifications about my future uploads. I'll be back with many more presentations, many more enjoyable videos and topics. So till then, bye everybody.